Welcome back to Wake Up Radio with Ryan Rain Fuzz. We've got Kyle MacDonald on the line joining us live from Canada. You, Kyle, traded a red paperclip for an entire house in the course of a year. You were just finishing up your story here. The last thing that we heard is that you traded a snowmobile for a trip for two to Yak, British Columbia, Canada. What happened from there? Sum it up for us.
Okay, the trip for two to Yak was great, and I had this trip, but I had a snowmobile in Eastern Canada. I was wearing a shirt that actually looked quite similar to this, but it was a company shirt by this company named Cintas. I'd been wearing it the whole time, sort of as an inside joke. And I wound up getting called by one of the head guys of the company, Cintas. He said, "Let's meet up. I want to see what are you doing this for? Let's have a chat." He wound up offering me a giant box truck, like a cube van, as we call it here. Now, Bruno said he wanted to take the trip to Yak, and what it came down to was the hour this TV program got blackmailed into doing a live broadcast from the town. So I drove the cube van and the snowmobile all the way to Yak. Bruno flew there. It was kind of really confusing, but when all the dust had settled, there'd been a live broadcast in the town of Yak, BC on national TV, and I wound up with this giant truck. I swapped that for a recording contract to record an entire album of music. And there was a lot of people very interested in that. I just swapped that one recording contract for a year of rent in Phoenix, and I was offered an afternoon with Alice Cooper for the year of rent in Phoenix. So I said yes immediately. Now,
right, because who wouldn't want to spend an afternoon?
I got to spend an afternoon with Alice Cooper, 2 afternoons in fact. He's a really, really cool guy. I went on stage with him and stuff in Fargo, North Dakota. He was excited to be a pawn in the whole game. And he took me aside afterwards and he says, "Look, I got tons of fans all around the world. You're going to get some crazy offer. Just promise me you won't do one thing." And I said, "All right, what's that, Alice?" And he said, "Just promise me you won't trade me for a weekend with Kiss or an evening with Mick Jagger." Or that type of thing. And I said, "Yeah, I got it. I hear what you're saying." And I got offered up. I had quite a few offers for that as well. There was a lot of people very excited. Now, the one that really caught my eye was this guy named Mark. I really liked the guy. And he says he wanted to meet Alice Cooper so he could take pictures and hopefully become a concert photographer. That was his dream, and this would help him on his way. He offered up, though, a Kiss snow globe. I announced this on my blog, and people freaked out. They got really It
didn't seem like
upset.
an even trade.
No, the whole point was I was trying to progress towards an ultimate trade, and this was a bit of a hiccup along the way, if you will.
So they thought.
Now people freaked out. They thought I was crazy. But what I didn't tell anyone was that I'd been offered up a paid speaking credited role in a Hollywood film from this actor, producer, filmmaker named Corbin Burnson. Corbin had made this offer back when I'd had the cube van, like 3 or 4 trades earlier than this, and I found out, I said, "Corbin, what do you want to trade for? Do you want this van? Is there anything I have that I'm going to have?" And I kept him in the loop with all my trades. And he didn't really, there was nothing that kind of clicked. I was on Wikipedia researching who Corbin Burnson was, because I didn't really know the guy. And I found out that he had one of the world's largest collection of snow globes, 6,000 snow globes. So when I got offered the snow globe, I said, "Yes, Corbin, do you want the snow globe?" He's like, "Not only do I want it, I need it." And what I did was I made the trade for the afternoon with Alice Cooper for the snow globe, and I didn't really tell anyone for 10 days. Corbin Burnson luckily didn't get hit by a bus, so I went out to LA, traded the snow globe with Corbin. He was happy, and wound up with the role in a movie, which was really cool. I brought out the crazies. I got offered up like virginity, these type of things, and the phone rang, and on the phone was a guy named Bert Roach from the small town of Kipling, Saskatchewan, in Canada. 1,000-person town. He was the economic development officer for the town. His job was to create, excitement about the community. And he said he could, if he could convince town council enough, he could convince them to offer me a house for the role in the movie. So he took it to town council. The town actually owned a few smaller houses, and they offered me a house in a small Canadian town for the role in the movie. But in addition to that, they offered me the key to the city. They offered to build the world's largest red paperclip and to hold Saskatchewan's biggest housewarming party ever, and which I accepted on the spot. We went there, shook hands, signed the deed to the house. 2 weeks later, The entire town of Kipling was out. We had 3,000 people in Kipling in a 1,000 person town.
All right.
And during that, they had auditions for the movie role. So a young
Kyle,
high school grad.
Yeah, Kyle, I mean, the story, it really just goes on and on. There's so much to it, and we're really almost out of time, so I want to get down to a couple of points. First and foremost, coincidence, Kyle. I mean, is this something that you believe in? Do you believe that coincidence exists after this entire year-long escapade?
Kind of. I think most people put too much on the idea of coincidence where they feel like it was meant to be, but I kind of think that the feeling of coincidence or meant to be is just when you're in a situation where you're thriving or it's working well. I've always felt when you get in a situation where you don't really know what's happening or you're in full control, but it feels right, I always find that coincidence or luck or interesting or good happenings come up quite a bit more often. So it's really finding out.
It's really about following intuition than you would probably say.
Absolutely, intuition, gut feeling, and just trying things out. You know, with a positive. I usually try and be quite positive about things. Just try things, be positive, meet people, and
so give it your best shot.
Good things usually end up happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also had said, Kyle, that whenever you're pursuing a really big, ambitious goal like this, you have to be floating between realism and extreme possibility, or was it positivity? What was it? Extreme positivity. What does that mean?
I think that you have to be realistic. You have to have your feet on the ground. You don't want to be a flake, too free-spirited, to the point where nothing happens. You have to kind of be, grounded in some ways, but you have to look for the possibilities. When I was trying to trade from a paperclip to a house, the offers were coming in from really random places. There's no business plan or model to follow. So you have to always keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and step out of line a few times and do things that just maybe don't quite feel exactly like they should be happening that way. But that's the fun of it. You never know what. There's no way to trade a paperclip for a house or to start up something. You just try things out that work.
Well, man, it's really interesting what you've done, and I think the other thing that I find really fascinating is that there are a lot of success stories within the story itself. The guy who was given who auditioned and won the opportunity to be in this movie. What happened with him in the end? What turned out with that?
Nolan Hubbard actually went to Hollywood. He won the movie role from Kipling. He filmed a movie in LA with Corbin Burnson. He's worked on some other movies since then. He was like 18-year-olds, fresh out of high school, working for minimum wage at the Bottle Depot when he got the role. And as a young guy, as a very talented and natural actor, he's kind of used some of the contacts, some of the experience, and he's done some more acting since then. So it was a great opportunity for him. Who knows what'll end up happening with Nolan.
And how about the girl that got the recording contract? What happened with her?
Jody Gannett recorded her album. She's sold, I believe, several thousand albums. She's moved on to different projects since then, but her dream was to record her full album, and she did it. Now she's helping. I think she still sells albums here and there. Does some shows, but it was really kind of I think at the time it was like a sense of completion because she'd wanted to make the record for so many years, and it was cool to see her see her able to do that.
Like I said, Fuzz, I mean, again, the story here is all about possibility, and Kyle took something that seemed completely impossible and turned it into a reality. I mean, who would think that you could trade a paperclip for a house? I mean, honestly.
Well, and I love, we've talked various times on the show about the metaphysical part of goals and etc. And I love the middle of this whole thing, the camp stove and the generator.
Right.
The camp stove. He actually helped someone else. This person couldn't get rid of that camp stove, and he helped that guy. And then the one thing that he thought was going to be the big trade ended up being the most work. And I think that's how a lot of things happen for us. The thing that we think is going to be really special or easy is not, and we overlook the other things that are big possibilities.
But Kyle, you didn't give up. You hung in there. You kept going for it, and in the end, you were successful with your goal, dude. If I could give you a big hug and shake your hand right now, I would, because I think what you've done is a true example of what everybody should be doing when they're pursuing a big goal. So thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining us for Wake Up Radio. We'll be back next time at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Ryan Ray and my co-host, Mr. Fuzz Edwards.
Guys, go out and make it a great week.
Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye-bye.